it's a beautiful part of India that's in this room, and they're all dreaming about tomorrow. And it would be interesting to ask, what did you dream about when there was time to dream about tomorrow for you? Were you just sitting waiting to take on the world, or?
There was, a couple of things. I did, not for fun, but I did dream of, just like I'm sure like many Indians dreamt of being a cricketer. I used to be a huge.
You did?
Yeah, I used to be a huge fan of. Sorry, I'm old, but I used to be a huge fan of Gavaskar. When he was playing. And later on Sachin when he played. But so I always had a dream. On a more serious note, I always loved technology growing up, and so I had dreams of just not exactly what I would do, but I wanted to, at that time, I used to read about what was happening in Silicon Valley, and I wanted to go be a part of it. So I didn't exactly dream a career as much as a destination and wanting to be there.
Sitting in IIT Kharagpur, there was no Google then.
No. Okay.
You're sitting in IIT Kharagpur in a room that wasn't quite as fancy as this hall is, and there is no Google, so how are you keeping in touch with what Silicon Valley is doing, and how are you dreaming? And
wow, I have to think about that for a minute. There was no internet too, and it was pre all that. Mostly reading, and my uncle had gone to the States, and I was interested in semiconductors and so on. And William Shockley, the person who kind of invented semiconductors, was from Silicon Valley. So I'd read a story about him staying, working through at Stanford close to Christmas Eve, and so stuff like that. So, for what I was interested in, I knew that's where it was happening.
But now, there's a new generation that's coming, and I feel the generation gap every few minutes.
Yeah.
But Google and you both have to stay relevant, not just to the people in this room, but to a generation earlier than them. So how do you stay relevant? How does Google always stay relevant?
It's a good question. In the technology world, everything changes in such a fast pace. Given you were asking questions about when I went to school, in the 80s, the personal computers were just getting underway. And, 10 years from then, I just gone to the US, and the internet, as we know, came into existence. And 10 years after that, mid-2000s, when the first smartphones came into being, right? Android didn't even exist 10 years ago. And but kind of shows you how much things change. And so a lot of what we do is to figure out what that next wave is, and you have to do that. You have to reinvent yourself. Part of the reason we are all very interested in India is, it's an amazingly young country. It's a vast country. And so in many ways, we do think the trends of the future will come from places like that, so largely explains our deep interest in places like India.
They said he's an example of the fact that good guys can finish first. Now, on this one, the teachers are clapping more than the students.
I wasn't exactly a good guy at school, though.
Well, a good guy doesn't necessarily have to mean 98%. Just a good guy is a decent person. That's what I've been told about you.
Don't believe everything you say.
So are you... And that brought more cheers. So you're not the Rahul Dravid of the tech industry.
I don't know everything about Rahul,
I'll
but
tell you what.
I knew he had good technique. That's all I know about him.
No, I'll tell you, a lot of us with the simple middle class background, and I can relate entirely to what Sundar is saying, we find it very difficult to talk about ourselves. So maybe that question was a little wrong. Is Google a fun place, or is it a place for workaholics?
Oh, no, I think it's, there's a lot more balance than people realize. It's an amazingly fun place. I think it is, I did feel like when I first went to Google, I was like a kid in a candy store, there is, you walk around, people are working on amazing things, and, and so really stretches your mind.
is one of the things we talk about in sport is that sometimes it's easier to get to number one than stay number one, and Google has done an amazing job of staying number one. Mm-hmm. How do you handle that challenge? Because when you are number one, everyone wants to be you. So how do you take on the challenge of staying number one?
You know, from our perspective, and I think it's true for in technology in particular, you know, the world keeps changing, as I said earlier. So, you know, a big part of what I focus on at any given time is, you know, making sure we are innovating and building products for the future. You know, it's just got to be a normal course of how you think. And so, you know, we are constantly thinking about what to do next. So, you know, Android is very popular. People are using smartphones. But, you know, I always sit and think about what is the next version of how people use computing, right? And so we are thinking about, you know, things like virtual reality or augmented reality. So these are all new areas, but we are constantly thinking about it. And so you have to do that on a constant basis to push forward.
Is it mandatory even today, you think, for people in this room, for an Indian, to go west to become a tech star?
I hope not. I think one of the things which is exciting, I'm excited to be speaking here, is, you know, I do think there are many, many different paths you take. And I think especially I was telling someone on the way over here, last week someone on Twitter tweeted to me and said, thank you on behalf of Indians, you know, this was Indian American, but he tweeted to me and said, thank you on behalf of all Indian Americans for not being a doctor. And, showing other paths exist, and I hope it's the same. You know, being in the U.S., you know, I find people take a remarkably varied number of paths, and you know, so I do think it's important to follow your dream and do something which you're, you know, excited by. You know, so I think if you follow your heart and do what you like, you will always do much better. And so I don't think it matters that you're an engineer or you're in science, or it could be in any field. And I think, you know, I think you're a good example of, you know, having gone to IAM and switching and being, you know, at that time, you know, I distinctly was impressed by the fact that you were bold enough to do something like that. But I think it's phenomenal. You did something which, you know, you followed your heart, and I think those are examples. You know, I'm a huge, you know, football fan as well. And, you know, I remember when I was young, you know, waking up and driving my mom crazy because I would wake up in the middle of the night to watch World Cup soccer at that time and to watch the Brazilian team in those days, in the 80s. And, you know, I continue to, you know, cricket and soccer are two sports I follow. I follow actually football more now because it's easier to follow it there. And I'm a very big Barcelona and a Messi fan.
All you guys who wanted to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, don't.
I don't know whether you saw the recent El Clasico in which Barcelona won 4-0.
Okay, the question comes from Chandra Nair. Chandra, there you are, from Kulachi Hansraj Model School. Have I got the pronunciation right?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Chandra, your question.
My question is, what would you have been if not the CEO of Google?
Wow, you know, I would have taken, I'm not that picky, football or cricket, I would have been okay with either. You know, I think I would have still been building software products. You know, that's what I love to do, and you know, I always was fascinated by the fact that, you know, with software, if you had an idea in your head, you could make it happen, and you could see the outcome of what you did. And you know, I love building products at the end of the day, and you know, it's what I would have liked to do.
It's the old thing, isn't it? When remember my father telling me when we were growing up, become whatever you want, but just try and become the best at it. So if you want to build products, just try and become the best at it, don't you? Okay, I think we're going left to Soumya Joshi from SRCC.
Hi,
Soumya,
I'm Soumya. Hi Sundar, hi Harsha. So my question for Sundar is, I'm right here.
There you are,
Yeah.
yes.
So my question for you is, what motivated you to switch fields from first metallurgy to management to computer science? And did you ever feel incompetent or even a bit insecure while working with people who were given more qualified in that field than you were?
You know, my background, so I was always interested in technology, and the first chance I could get to program, I learned programming, and so for me, I never thought of it as switching fields as much as when the internet started happening. It took me a while to realize the power of it, and it became obvious to me for the first time we are going to have something which could connect one day all of humanity and would profoundly transform what people did. So I wanted to be a part of that, so part of that journey. So that's how I thought of it, and so I didn't think of it as necessarily switching careers. To answer your second question, absolutely. I would actually encourage all of you. If at some point in your life, you have to work with people where you feel a bit insecure, right? That's essential, because that means you're working with people who are better than you and who are pushing you, right? And so I always encourage, if you actually feel very secure in what you do, that means you're doing something comfortable and you're not pushing yourself. And so there are many, many times I've felt working with people in a group, am I doing enough? These people seem much better than me, and I think that's an inherent part of learning.
Chief, if there's one thing you want to take away from this hour you're getting with Sundar, may it be that. Let yourself be insecure from time to time. It's a lovely thing. The moment you start to get secure, and I can tell you we all, because we've seen a little bit more life, the moment you get secure, you're actually moving backwards. Okay, we've got a video question, and it's coming from IIT Kharagpur. So can we get the video question, please?
Hello, Mr. Pichai. Greetings from IIT Kharagpur. My name is Hardik Katayal. My question is, recently startups from IIT is having on the rise, and they're set to transform India into Silicon Valley of the East. So from your point of view, how much impact do these startups really have on India's progress, and how do you think this impact will change the face of the nation in the coming years?
I'm not sure I got a last spot, but
how will this change the pace of the nation in the coming years?
Every year or 2 years, whenever I make these trips back here, I've always been waiting for this change in India. It was only when I came last year, I felt it very viscerally that, the startup culture had really taken hold here. It's incredible to see. For the scale of India over time, you do need entrepreneurs to tackle and build things for India and for globally. And I think it's a unique opportunity India has, and all the elements which you need is already here. And so I think India is very, very well positioned to do. The entrepreneurs I meet, we had, as part of me being here, along with Rajan, who heads Google India, we hosted a set of entrepreneurs, and I spent a bunch of time talking to them. When I see entrepreneurs here, they seem no different to me than the kind of people I meet in the Valley. So intrinsically, I think India can do the same kinds of things. And as the internet becomes more mainstream, people feel more confident. You have a much larger domestic market to tackle. That'll give you the confidence to tackle not just a local market, but global problems as well. So I think we're very well positioned.
Would it be fair to say that the number of entrepreneurs in a system is almost a measure of the confidence of a generation?
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing about India is I think, there's always been, whenever in India I used to walk around and go to some remote corner and find a tea stall, I always felt there is an entrepreneur there somewhere who saw that opportunity. So I think that streak has always existed. But I do think this generation, to your earlier point, I think is less, afraid to take risks and follow a conformist path, which is good.
Okay, we've got a teacher. This way. Malini Narayanan. From Army Public School, Shankar Vihar?
Yeah.
Oh, there you
Morning.
Sorry, I'll turn back this way.
There you are, ma'am.
Yeah. A special moment to interact with you. Must also tell you that we have over 200, 300 school students here, and I head the Army Public School. I'm the principal. My question to you is, the Indian education system has done extremely well. We have you in Google, and that is the proof of the pudding. We want to know, how do we now adapt ourselves to become future ready? And what are the skills and the techniques that the children now need to learn so that they have an edge over the other competitors? There are plenty of nations fielding people. So how do we get the edge over the other nations of the world?
Thank you. For me, I think a way, as you said, India has a strong educational system, and there's a culture of valuing education, which is phenomenal. I think ways in which we could move forward would be, for me, if I look at what is needed to solve the next generation of problems, creativity is an important attribute. I think so. Encouraging more creativity through the educational system. Today, I do think our educational system values, rigorous academic knowledge over necessarily, being more creative in how you approach education. I think that's important. Another thing I would say is, and I think I've seen it in the best schools in the US, etc. It's what I call, it's very experiential, very hands-on. People learn how to do things by doing them, and not just by learning about them, right? And I think that's a big difference. So, to me. So allowing a system in which there's a lot more creativity, learning how to get things done by hand, and so much more of a project-based experiential learning are all, I think, trends which the Indian educational system needs to adopt. And I also think it's important to teach students to take risks, and and making sure the system doesn't penalize for you to take risks, and if you're different. And so those are all attributes which I think are important.
Okay, we've got another video question coming for us. Here's an interesting one. Can we play the video, please?
Hi Sundar, why do we still not have Indian desserts as Android OS names? Like N for Naan Khatai, N for Neyappam, or maybe P for Peda?
When I meet my mom, I'll ask her for suggestions, and but maybe what I'll do next time is when we are working on the next release of Android N, maybe we'll do an online poll on what the name should be, and if all Indians vote, I think we can make it happen.
Let me tell you one thing about Indians online. The only community that ever wins online polls are Indians. Because we just have such numbers.
Which is why I'm suggesting it.
I suspect your mother might say when you get to P that P for payasam will be good.
Though when I was young, I never liked sweets. Now I do. I used to take the payasam and actually add sambar to it, so that it didn't taste that sweet.
Any of you did that? S is long way away. We won't wait for S for sambar. Okay, there's a lot of people who've also used social media to send in questions as well. So let's get the first one that's coming off the screen, and it's coming from Rishikesh More, or using the hashtag #AskSundar. Is there any possibility that companies in the IT, computer, internet sector, as big or as successful as Google, can be created in India, and the world comes to India for service? You'll see this theme coming through. There's a great latent pride among a lot of people, so this will keep coming through. If yes or no, what do you think is holding us back?
If I can answer this question with a slightly longer term view, I think absolutely. There is nothing intrinsic I see why from India, we cannot do what people have achieved externally. So there's nothing intrinsically. There are probably a set of structural reasons why it hasn't fully happened yet, but those barriers are slowly going away, right? And a big part of it is, to the earlier question, a culture of startups and risk taking. And I think India's historically had a much more of a professional culture and a culture of entrepreneurial approach. It's been very exciting to see. To me, a bigger thing to go with that would be, as the internet reaches more users in India, and India has a billion user base, like China now has, or it's getting to, then people, when you tackle problems in India, you can think about big problems, right? And so you can be very ambitious in what you tackle, and the part of doing that is what leads to big global companies. So I am absolutely confident this will happen in India. It's just a matter of time. It's not, so it's going to happen.
Okay, Ruchika Salwan from the Department of Computer Science, University of Delhi. There you are.
Greetings, sir. I'm honored to interact with you in person, and welcome to India, first of all. Sir, my question for you is, how is your vision for Google different from that of Larry Page and Sergey Brin?
I worked with them very closely for many, many years. I think, part of why we have been able to do this together is we kind of share the same aspirations. We, of course, have a lot of differences, and we debate approaches to how you solve problems. But at a high level, all of us have felt that, you can use technology and computer science to solve problems at scale, big problems which will make a difference in people's day-to-day lives. We've always been interested in doing that. So that's the common thread by which we have thought about problems. And so I do, I share a lot more in common than not. So.
Didn't you ever sort of get up one morning and say, you know what, these two guys produced a world-changing company, and they want to give it to me?
They're still very involved. I think they are equally ambitious, and they want to do a lot more with it. But I think for me it was truly a privilege to get this opportunity, and so I'm excited for it.
Okay, from Amity University, where's Jassing Bhasin? Ah, there you are.
Hi, Sundar.
Hello.
I have an interesting question for you. I had read somewhere that you have unusual gift that seemed a little more than a curiosity when you were a child, but has served you incredibly well in adulthood, which is insane numerical recall, and can remember every number you have ever dialed. Is it true?
It's no longer true, but at the time when I was in India, we were lucky because the phone numbers were only 6 digits, so that helped. And Google didn't exist then, so people all over my family and friends, if they wanted to call a phone number, they would just ask me. And so I just got used to the habit of remembering every phone number I had called or I had heard about. But when I went to the US, the phone digits were, first of all, 10 digits, so made it much harder. But as soon as I got a smartphone which started storing phone numbers, I stopped thinking about them. So I can't do it now, but I used to be able to do it a long time ago.
There's almost a pattern now to all interviews in India, where the host is required to ask rapid-fire questions of the guest. These are not my questions. The only condition is that the questions will be asked quickly and the answers are short.
Okay.
But your answers are always short. So, okay, here we go, Sundar. Okay, rapid fire questions. When did you buy your first phone?
Smartphone?
Any phone? Not the one in Chennai.
The rotary phone. It was a Motorola StarTAC. This was probably 95, 96, yeah.
And the first smartphone?
I thought it was a smartphone, but the first smartphone I bought was probably in 2006.
Actually, here's another question. How many smartphones do you have? Because I think you'll find the average in this room is not one.
I tested. Probably in my house there are probably 20 to 30. I shouldn't admit it.
That is such disastrous news for kids who don't buy their own phones. And okay. Do you think coding should be made compulsory for everyone?
I don't think it should be made compulsory, but I think it should be strongly encouraged. Yeah. So.
What was your first software project?
Oh, just learn. Trying to build a rudimentary version of like chess and games like that. That's what I did first.
Why do you look at him and think it might have been chess? For all the talk about Barcelona and cricket. Okay, I promise you I have nothing to do with this question. How much did you score in your class 12?
Not enough to get into Sriram College of Commerce.
Why is the special edition, well, I'm going to just correct the spellings as I go. Why is the special edition Star Wars cardboard not available for Indians? This is one of those applause, that kind of applause. The chair is going to grow as it goes round.
We should figure out. These are these amazing. We just handed them out at Google last week before I left, and they're really amazing ones. Wouldn't it be nice if we could give one to everyone in the room here?
Does everyone include people on the stage as well? This is, and for someone who has technology challenges me, this is a big challenge. This is a 360-degree selfie. Okay, so I'll take a couple. I don't know if you can stand that far apart, but I'll aim it at you. It's okay if I don't get in, but 360 I will, I guess. Okay, there you are, and I'll come closer. Sit. This is everyone's fanboy moment. Yeah.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.